I'm just doing a quick video because this message came to my heart. There may be some women and some men out there that are experiencing things that they don't deserve to experience. I want you to know that you are beautiful, that you are worthy, and most of all, you are a child of the Most High. You are divine, no matter what you think about yourself, no matter what experiences that you've had in this life. You are deeply loved, even if you can't feel it. You are loved, even if you do not love yourself at this very moment. You are needed. The very air you breathe is blessed. So just know that and see it for yourself. I'm doing this video because I've had so many experiences in my life that made me question my worth, that made me concerned, that made me sometimes want to speak up and sometimes want to speak out. And I know that I've been protected at a very high level. And what made me come to this subject of abuse is, you know how we watch reality TV sometimes. There was this show. I don't watch TV much, but this one show I watch. But things kind of escalated off the camera. And this lady started playing her life out on Instagram. And she started showing signs of abuse, in the relationship that she was experiencing. But on the show that I watched, you could see the subtle signs of her partner. So I just wanted to come and talk about this because I've experienced it in my life where men have tried me. There's always going to be someone that tries you because they want to see how far they can take it. But what I want the beautiful people out here to know is that you have to be aware of the signs. You have to be diligent and always be prayerful so that you don't get sucked into bad situations. Now, I've never been in an abusive relationship, but I experience sometimes people talking down to me and, arguing with people, coming outside of my character, being upset, and just negative energy being fostered from someone trying to manipulate and control me. Now, I'm not the victim, but I'm not the victim at all. But sometimes, I'm going to be honest, it took me a long time to find my voice. It took me a long time to just open up and say, this is wrong in certain instances. Normally what would happen is somebody tried me, I would just cut them off. Because, I was taught not to speak up to a certain degree. I was taught, so finding my voice was a very, very hard thing for me to do. Acknowledging the evils and the negativity of other people was a hard thing for me to do. Normally, I would just take it and I would swallow it up. And that's why I turned to food. As my outlet instead of acknowledging my truth. So, it's powerful acknowledging your truth. You don't even have to be nasty to people who are demeaning and disrespectful. You just have to let them know that you're not the one and you don't deserve to be treated like that. So it brings me back to a time where I think it was like 2016. It could have been 2017. It's so much things that happened to me within this last couple of years. I don't honestly remember the year. It wasn't long ago. But I was in and out of the gym, and I had met this man. And he had the signs, of a manipulator, of an abuser, of a person that was very controlling, and someone that could easily suck you in. I want you people, everyone who listens to this video, and I don't mean you people like that, but when the thing about people who are abusers, manipulative, deceiving, passive aggressive, they always test you with little things first. So it's a little thing. Sometimes that little thing might be calling you baby when you're not in a relationship with them. That little thing may be them showing ownership of you and you're not in a relationship. That little thing may be them saying something to you inappropriate just to see how you're going to take it. Beloved family, when someone puts that out there, that tester out there, I want you to start catching it, because you catching it can save your life. You catching that first thing that they put out there as a tester can save you from a whole world of destruction. And so when I went into the gym, I was going in there by myself different times. And there was this man who was kind of clocking me, and I wasn't even really paying attention. And so initially, sometimes we would only be in the gym by ourselves. And then because we were coming so early in the morning, like 4:00 in the morning, I noticed that I had a routine. And by the end of my routine, he would all of a sudden switch up his little routine and make his way over to the area that I was at by the end of my routine. It started off with him the first thing he said to me out of his mouth was, "Oh, you're so beautiful." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." In my mind. In my mind, because I look at myself and I tell myself I'm beautiful every day. So I don't necessarily wait for the acknowledgement of a man to tell me that. I tell myself that. And I know that I'm beautiful not just because of what I am on the outside. I'm beautiful because my heart is genuinely beautiful. Not a perfect person by any means, but I know that my heart is always, most of the time, in the right place. And so when he told me that, I was like, "Oh, that's nice, But then he started telling me this all the time, and I wasn't catching on. And then, I would see him, and then he would strike up a conversation. And I remember one of the first conversations that we had. We started talking about religion, and I told him about my belief system, about the Most High, and he's like, "I'm not a believer," and he was adamant. "I'm not that kind of believer," and blah, blah, blah. That was like the first red flag, because he thought that I was brainwashed by the Bible. And I told him, I know where that was coming from, because he had deep abandonment issues. And we discussed this from a prior conversation. Now, me being the person that I am, I'm thinking that in my mind at the time, I thought that I need to witness to him. I could actually show him compassion and show him another way. And sometimes, honestly, all you have to do is leave people alone and just pray for them. You don't have to, you can't be anyone's salvation. The only way they can seek salvation is through the Most High. And some people you just can't reason with. So don't always think that you can reason with everyone and you can explain everyone. Sometimes people have to have certain experiences for themselves in order for them to know the truth. And so he got really heated But I decided my defense was love. My defense was compassion. My defense was I see the hurt and I see the brokenness in him. And so I said, even though you got really heated and you believe, you're not going to change my beliefs on what I believe in. This is just it. And this is where it's at. And so after that conversation, I felt like, okay, maybe we won't speak anymore, but I'll keep you in prayer. That died down, and may have been a couple of weeks later, he came up to me and started chatting again. And I noticed a little pattern, but I wasn't really paying attention too deeply. Then after a while, he started saying, "Oh, you're doing so great, blah, blah, blah." And it was like every time he seen me, he would try to build me up. And I didn't notice what he was doing because I was honestly focusing on my work. But he would always compliment me. He would always tell me you're such a great person, blah, blah, blah. I'm so proud of you. You're looking good. You're doing good. You're losing weight, blah, 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 blah. And I never thought about him having an agenda. I just thought he was just egging me on. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I look at myself every day and I could see my progress, and I'm not, I don't need the compliments. Let's just say that. And so as time go by, I kind of warmed up to him a little bit. And he walked up to me one day and he was like, well, do you want to work out together? And I was like, okay, cool. So we started working out together. And we probably did a couple sessions. And I noticed that he was controlling. And then he was saying that I was going to be his wife. He was like, I'm going to marry you. And I told him up front, I said, no, I'm definitely not going to marry you. This is not going anywhere but the gym. And to keep a long story short, we started working out. I noticed that sometimes when we were working out together, he would look at me. And I would be uncomfortable, and we would laugh and joke sometimes too. We were flirting a little bit, but it was harmless, nothing sexual, just oh, you did a great job. And I'd be like, I can do better than that. I can lift more than you, things like that. And so over time we began to build a rapport, but I didn't think about the signs. I didn't think about how he targeted me. I didn't think about how he was building me up on an excessive level, almost overdoing it. And I didn't think about how he was manipulative in subtle ways and controlling. When we would work out together, he would want us to work out on one machine. He would want us to do, we would do several machines, but he wanted to do it his way. And I was fine with doing it his way because he was quite successful, ripped up to shreds. He was already, buff guy, already very fit, very healthy. So I was like, okay, we could do it your way. Maybe that will, up my game a little bit in terms of me losing weight. And I was really dropping the weight. I was already dropping the weight by myself, but we were doing other machines and other exercises together that I wasn't doing by myself. And I'm not going to lie, it was a benefit to my body. And he kept telling me throughout this process, you're going to be mine. I'm getting you ready because you're mine. And then I'm going to marry you, blah, 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 which was a red flag. And so as time went by, we were consistently working out together. And I'm not going to run this too deep. We were consistently working out together. And we exchanged numbers one day. He was like, well, let's exchange numbers because blah, blah, blah. And when we exchanged numbers, it was nothing. It was harmless initially. So he would say, okay, we're going to meet at this time, blah, blah, blah. And we were starting to plan out our meals. Everything was starting to go fine. I did let him know for sure that this was not going anywhere besides the gym. He was a little bit older than me too, and I just was not into him. Also, he wasn't a believer, but if he was a believer, I would not have been into him at all. And so it was strictly about working out. But the thing that I was not acknowledging is that he was flirtatious. He told me that he was going to marry me, and basically he was going to talk me into marrying him. And he had this kind of controlling and manipulative vibe about him. And what he was doing, as you can remember, I'm saying that he was constantly building me up, building me up, building me up all the time, complimenting me like crazy, telling me how great I'm doing. He was building me up so that at some point he could tear my self-esteem down. But see, this is the thing. He didn't know that he didn't have my self-esteem in his hands to tear down to begin with. Because I already knew who I was. Don't matter whether I'm 300 pounds or 500 pounds or 200 pounds or 100. It doesn't matter how much I weigh. I know that I am worthy because I'm a child of the Most High. And I don't look for other people to validate me. It's nice to have people around, but I already know who I am. I'm a person that's been standing alone for quite some time. And so as this process began, he kept asking me, can we go out on a date? I was like, nope. And I'm like, it's not going nowhere besides the gym, bruh. And then, he started texting me like, oh, can I come over and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. He didn't know where I lived at or anything like that. And I was like, that's inappropriate. I don't, we didn't open up a dialogue like that in the first place. But what I'm trying to get at is little by little, he was inching himself in there. Because if he had an opportunity, he was going to make me mine, his, and he was going to manipulate and dictate my life. He was a controller and a very abusive man. And he told me about what he used to do to other women as far as how much women he had. And he had the women, because he raised his children. He raised his children, and he was bitter about a woman he was previously married to, and he had to raise the children or something like that. And so he told me how he had women taking care of his kids and doing all these things. And, so I felt like by him telling me that experience, what a manipulator and an abuser typically does is they're going to tell you what they're going to do to you. They're going to tell you their plan for you. But if you ignore it, that's when trouble breaks out. So if you're not paying attention to the subtle signs of someone who is manipulative and abusive, then you are heading yourself down a path of destruction, actually. And as this time went by, we would work out, and it's like he began to get more intense. He felt comfortable now that he had my number. At first, he would just say, are you coming to the gym around this time? Then he felt it comfortable to slap a little, you were looking good in tonight, so-and-so. And I kept telling him, like, no, it's not like that. Over time, he became more controlling and more manipulative through text messaging. So I started to feel uncomfortable, but it was subtle things. You got to pay attention to the subtleties. So it was subtle things that he was doing. And he was saying, I can't actually remember everything. But so when it all broke down, it was over a text message that he sent me because he felt comfortable sending me a naked picture, just randomly out of the blue. Out of the blue, he sent me a naked picture, and I texted him back. I deleted it immediately, texted him back, and I was like, this is totally inappropriate. I don't know what I said, but I was angry. And he chose, now this is not something that we would share together or something that was typical. This was random. So at that time, he took it upon himself to go in. It's like everything he said, building me up. Oh, you're looking good. You're losing weight. I was watching the scale. I was losing weight. And I was looking good to myself always, no matter how big or small I am. So you can't take that away from me. Nobody ever on the face of this earth can take that away from me, because I already know how I look. I already know how I take care of myself. And so he was like, he threw in my weight. He went in. He went in on me via text message. He was like, this is why you're going to fall off. This is so and so. It was basically like, you need me to make you so and so. I'm making you. Like, I have ownership of you. I'm the one who's helping you losing weight. I'm the one, you're going to be nothing without me. He was texting me things similar to that. I still have some of the text messages. And after that, I can't really remember. I just remember how I felt. Like, I didn't feel low. I felt like I almost slipped up and let someone in who could have been extremely dangerous in my life. And I was thanking God, like, thank you, Lord, that this man does not know where I live at. Thank you that he doesn't know anything about me outside of outside the gym. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I was just thankful for that. So he blew up on me, and all that stuff that he was using to like build me up and tell me how great I was doing, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, I was doing good before I even met him. He turned all that around, and he was making it from the text messages, all because I would not take his sexual advances. He was making it like I was nothing and I would be nothing without him. Now, to a woman with a low self-esteem or broken down, he could have easily like broke my little whole self-esteem apart, but my self-esteem was never his to break apart to begin with. It was never based upon a man in the first place. And so what I did is, when I noticed that he turned out the crazy on me, I just was very subtle. At first, when I got the picture, I expressed my anger. But when he came back with crazy, then I got subtle. I said, oh, okay. Well, you know what? We're not going to work out again together. I was very kind, because I just did not want to deal with that energy anymore. I was like, let's just leave it at this.